Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise is brought to you in partnership with Drive Media and Consulting and their premier sponsors. Subscribe on your favorite streaming platforms and share. If you just found us, welcome. And if you're a regular, welcome back. Denise DiGrigoli has spent her life in the creative industries as an entrepreneur, helping people transform their visions into thriving businesses, working with individuals and teams to find their purpose and live their life vibrantly. On her pod, Denise delivers business intel and life hacks with wit and wisdom in short shots like a strong espresso with a solid sense of humor. Enjoy this episode of Mav's Coffee Clarity, and here's Mav.
Welcome, my friends. You're on Mav's Coffee Clarity with Denise. We're a show designed to move you forward in work, life, and self-care. One cup, one conversation at a time. You know, I believe everybody's been a maverick for a minute, a moment, or a lifetime. So weekly, we spill the beans on business intel and life hacks to move you forward. When it's not just me often offering a navigator mindset and a short shot, I interview some fascinating entrepreneurs and creatives. And today, I have the pleasure of being on location in Erector Square, some of the most creative property in New Haven, with an incredible international fine artist. Welcome to the pod, Mary Elizabeth Marvin. So great to have you today. Or actually, thank you for having us in your studio.
Oh, this is fantastic. This is going to be the greatest thing.
We have talked about this for so long.
We have.
And finally, our schedules collide. I'm grateful to see you look fantastic. And we're going to give an inside glimpse of your studio, but boy, is it full of color.
Yes.
So I know, of course, a little bit about you because we've worked together many, many years, and I'm honored that I can share this space with you today. But what I want our audience to understand about you is you are the epitome of a maverick. You have evolved, transitioned, transformed through trials, tribulations. So before we dig into your fine art, let's learn a little bit about you. You grew up on the coast here in Connecticut?
No, I actually grew up outside of Hartford.
Oh, you were landlocked.
I was landlocked.
Okay.
But had a very family, beach-oriented family, I would say. So, yeah, you're not wrong at all to associate me with the coast and the shore. That's my happy place for sure.
And not to jump ahead of the interview, but there's a lot of water and sort of fluidity in your art that really brings me back to a water consciousness.
Absolutely. I find that is a setting that very quickly, returns me to myself.
To your peace.
Yeah.
It's evident in this studio.
Gets me back into that peace mindset. I think it does that for a lot of people.
But it wasn't always peaceful for you, my friend. You've come through a couple of brain surgeries after being one of the most astute speech writers for some of our biggest CEOs in Connecticut. So let's go back to then.
Sure.
You are the corporate speech writer for various, we won't mention names, but pretty big in the big leagues, and you're writing CEO speeches.
Yes, I am. As a child, as an absolute child.
So you were 10?
I was practically 10 years old. I shocked everybody by not going to art school, and instead pursued a degree in journalism, but took a minor in art history. At any rate, I got out of school. I began working as a writer. I first worked for the Space Administration.
Oh, see, I didn't know that about you. Okay.
Yeah, I worked for NASA as a publicist in the technology.
I already knew you weren't a lightweight, but now you just gamed it up a level. Oh, I just worked for NASA as a young person. All right. Go ahead, NASA.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go up there to space. La-di-da.
So what were you doing over at NASA? Well, we need you there now, that's for sure.
I worked doing publicity for how NASA technologies were transferred into the private sector. So,
Fascinating.
All of our tax dollars go to NASA, go to help support NASA. Not all of them, but, a nice portion. And many of the technologies that were developed by NASA scientists, NASA researchers, et cetera, later found applications in the private sector. So they went on to improve a whole host of things. And I got to write some very interesting stories about what happened there, about that translation. And then I was recruited away and went to work for one of the large insurance companies in Hartford. And I don't know. I just hit the ground running there.
No, you are a great articulator. I'm going to be real with the audience. She's helped me write some of my stuff early on. Yes, pretty fabulous.
My college journalism professor once gave me what I thought was the highest compliment ever, which is that she uses the shovel well.
Said no one in the room.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I do.
Are you a shit shoveler? Is that what we're trying to say? Swearing is allowed. We're unedited here, authentic.
I can.
You shovel the shit?
I can lay down some BS like nobody's business.
But I also know about you. You're very authentic and real to yourself. I mean, in all good.
I am.
Yeah.
But I put words in corporate
fluffery
executives' mouths that were pretty slick.
Yeah. Pretty slick.
So I ended up being 24 and being a vice president, being on the executive council.
Obviously, you weren't distracted by the doom scroll because cell phones weren't around back then.
There were no cell phones. There were pagers. I worked 70-hour weeks. I'm
Did anyone tell you to work 70-hour weeks?
No, because I was a nutter.
Okay. Self-proclaimed nutter.
Self-proclaimed nutter. No, I was 23 or 24. I was one of only 2 women on the executive council. I was the only person in the room that had not attended an Ivy League school.
Well, high five to you, sister.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for that. So I really got an on-the-job MBA. I mean, I got to see from working very closely with a number of CEOs just how it's done, how you think, how you work through things. So
you took these experiences and started acting as a sponge, and I bet you would say it's informed a lot of who you are today.
Oh, it's absolutely. I mean, it's a tremendous advantage in life, in my career, in my parenting, in every respect.
Out of that experience, what made you a better person and what made you not a better person? You're like, hey, she didn't write that into the script. That's a curveball question for today.
No, I think it's a fabulous question. What made me a better person ultimately was that I ended up really finding my own way into what is actually a good work-life balance.
Fascinating.
Because that was a lesson I really needed to learn. And I was not someone that had boundaries as a younger person. So my jobs there became kind of my identity for a while.
That happens to us when we're young, right?
Yeah.
Our jobs become who we are, but that's so not the truth.
But that was like, only a tiny bit of the picture. Yeah.
And what do you wish you could have left behind from that?
Honestly, I'm the type of person that feels that almost every experience that I've had has had some value to it, has had some informative nugget.
That's the navigator in you right there.
Yeah.
But then I met you just as you were kind of moving into your art career, and you had a life-threatening situation.
Yes.
Where you made a complete 360 and maybe then some. Tell our friends that are listening about that.
Yeah, I have had a number of very rarefied experiences that, I'll say what they are. For many people, they seem like the worst possible thing, disasters, terrifying, etc.
They are actually. They are disastrous.
Yeah.
We're glad that you survived them and you're here.
But I'm going to say that all of those things that have happened to me, and there are 5 things really that stand out. Those things that happened really became the catalyst for me transforming my life and getting me on my true path, which is as an artist. So really what we're talking, really the pivotal moment was when I was 28 years old and I learned that I needed to have 11 hours of life-threatening brain surgery. I had a vascular defect in my brain and I was living outside of Washington, D.C. at the time. And
11-hour surgery?
Yeah. The kind of surgery that you might not make it out of the room. So
I mean, just the anesthesia alone, you might not wake up.
Right. So what happened is, and this is true and it's very profound, but before brain surgery, before they put you under, they threw a clipboard in front of me. And the question was, under what circumstances should we not resuscitate?
And you're 28 with no family, and you're thinking about this very profound question. When should you not wake me up? And your answer was?
My answer, which was a massive shock to me, was, well, if I can't paint, pull the plug.
Now, at that time, were you a painter?
No.
Were you on shrooms?
I was not on shrooms at the moment, although that would have really made it nicer.
You're just like the speechwriter that worked for, the most astute people in the world was like, if I can't paint, don't wake me up.
Yeah. And I had been painting almost daily starting from age 9. But at that point, and all through my corporate career, I really only painted occasionally and only on weekends. But, I didn't write down, if I'm going to be a paraplegic or a quadriplegic, pull the plug. If I'm going to lose my sight, pull the plug. No, I wrote down, if I can't paint, pull the plug. And that, after I went through a recovery, which was huge,
How many months is that recovery?
We're not talking months. We're talking years.
Wow.
Yeah, we're talking years ultimately.
Ooh.
But, at 28, you bounce back at a pretty good clip, but the body and the mind have their own time frame. But I had to learn how to dress myself again, how to feed myself again. I mean, we're talking reset of a major level.
And so you, at that point, when I met you, you're long past 28. You must have been almost 48. 45. Oh, listen, first of all, friends, on Mavs Coffee Clarity, age is an asset.
Yeah.
And we roast ageism. Okay, so let's not even go there when I'm shouting out her age. But my point was, you were further down the tunnel of experience.
Yes, I was farther along in life experience, got through the brain surgery. Once I was recovered, I said, that's it. I'm going to art school. That's where my joy is. Life is too short. You've got to follow your joy.
So were you working and going to art school?
I worked a little bit in art school. I had been consulting, and I sold my business to my partner, who was the former director of design for Merrill Lynch in New York City. And
wow.
Yeah, I was the writer. She was the designer. We were a fabulous team. We had real A-list clients. But then I had the brain surgery, did a little writing there, but ultimately decided, nope, I'm going to art school. And I went to a museum-based art school in Washington, D.C. And then this is, divine timing, hilarity. So I'm about, about 4 months after I graduated from art school, I gave birth to twins.
And they are so lovely.
Yes, and
they're grown now, though, but they're still lovely.
They're still lovely.
They're lovely.
They are. My husband was not overly enthused about
twins
having children.
Oh,
And I came up pregnant naturally with twins.
So 2 for the price of 1, my friends. No matter what, it's coming through. Divine intervention.
So there's 2 things that are said about me and my family.
Yes.
Number 1, she was never right in the head. Number 2, she's over quota. So yes, I delivered. I had twins, a boy and a girl, which is, really, you can't make that
Are
up.
twins in your family?
Twins are in my family.
So you kind of had a covert knowledge. You might be popping out 2 or 4.
Well, yeah, maybe I manifested it.
All right. Anyway, so you've got these 2 lovelies.
Yeah, so
You're coming out of art school.
I have these 2 lovelies. I'm coming out of art school. Hard pause.
That's a hard pause.
Then I met you.
And what were your kids, like 5?
Yeah, my kids
6
are little,
or so. Yeah, little.
5, 8. I don't know. Same age as your beautiful girl.
Yes, right around the. Yes, they're about
our
the
kids
same.
are right around the same age.
Wow, and I still think we're 29.
Because we are.
Okay,
times
definitely.
2, but whatever.
Times 2.
I'm not even a math girl.
So
anyway, we meet, you and I'm at the beginning of starting my art career, because it took a while for me to get big chunks of time in the studio. I needed my kids to get a little older.
Get their sea legs.
Get their legs. Yeah.
We keep going back to the water references, the sea legs.
The sea legs.
All right,
Totally.
so I meet you, and I have a gallery at the time.
Yes.
And we were talking about how to bring your art forward, but you were very kind of quiet about the fact you had already been in the Whitney Museum. Was it the Whitney?
No, I was in the Corcoran Museum in Washington, D.C.
Let's get it straight, Denise,
Yeah,
before you get on
baby.
before you get on the honker. The Corcoran Museum.
And let's shoot it straight, babe. I wore you down.
Well, you better say why.
I literally did, because at that point in time, I was running what I like to call Operation Bad Penny.
I love this Operation
Okay.
Bad Penny.
So Operation Bad Penny was, I wanted an art career. I had no idea how I was going to get one. I couldn't get gallery
This is Maverick. This is Maverick Insight right here. Operation
Right?
Bad Penny.
Operation Bad Penny. You show up at every opening, every event, every gallery. You talk to every curator. You do
This is marketing 101.
whatever it takes to build your career, and you don't listen to advice from anybody else.
That's the best piece of advice. Don't listen to advice from. And so, like here on Mavs Coffee Clarity, we're not giving advice. We want you to be listening into our coffee conversation. And if you pull one thing out that moves you forward, like an Operation Bad Penny, what suits you?
Operation Bad Penny is
Yes.
part of why I'm here today. Seriously.
So you took every opportunity to turn over every rock.
To talk to everyone I could talk to get insight on the art industry, to get insight on the art world, to get, valuable critique and feedback about my own work, about where I was going in my work, all of it. So at any rate, you and I meet, and like many galleries in Fairfield County, your outlook was, I don't show local artists.
Ugh, that's a heartache right there. But that was true, and there was a reason for that.
And listen, I think there's a very valid reason for that. But I said, but I'm someone that's has a corporate career, etc., and I would never undercut you on a sale.
Yeah, so a little side note here, my friends. The reason why we weren't selling or representing local artists, because at that time the internet was really in its infancy, and we would spend exorbitant amounts of money hosting artists, and then they would sell direct to the clients that came to the art exhibitions. And oftentimes it's just a lack of knowledge of being a good business person. But then you did pique my interest. You're like, hey, bitch, I'm a corporate woman. I get it. I'm not going to cut your legs off.
I get it. I would never cut your legs off.
And I'm short enough as it is. If you cut my legs off, well, we're in trouble. Anyways, go ahead.
And I really felt that you could help me, and you could offer me a lot of good guidance and value.
Mm-hmm.
So you said,
boy, was she silly.
No.
You think she says she's nutty. I don't know. What about Mav?
So Mav was still like, yeah, I don't know. So then, do you know what you did? You double dog dared me.
I did double dog dare
and
you.
you don't double dog dare me.
What was the double dog?
You were like, well, I can consult with you, but you'd have to pay my consulting fee and you'd have to book my time.
Well,
and I said, okay.
This is a maverick moment. People, you are worth your time.
You are worth your time.
You are worth your time. Like she's worth her time. And my creative artistic director is worth her time.
Right. So, I think, then the beautiful synergy really happened because we not only do we match each other's energy, and we have now for many years, but we match the same degree of seriousness about
when we had to get serious.
We
get serious.
Yes, and we are both born in the bone entrepreneurs.
See, Operation Bad Penny is going to be a hashtag for this one. And born what?
Born in the bone. I don't even know what that means.
All right, but that sounds good.
Okay.
We just had it from infancy, like the tenacity to get it done. So let me just take a little sidewinder here.
Go.
She's in my gallery in Southport, Connecticut, and she doesn't have a history of sales. I'm fearful, not really, that I could have my legs cut off and paying an exorbitant amount of rent, right? And there's a lot of marketing that goes on.
And you're taking a risk.
There's a risk.
I'm an unknown.
But let me just say this about her today, my friends. She's an internationally known artist like NASA is, okay? Her work has been sold all over the world, never mind some of the most astute retailers like Neiman Marcus, Pottery Barn.
I mean,
am I missing any? There's like all of these on your website. It's just crazy. Tell a few. Go ahead.
Okay.
Let's take a little commercial here.
All right. So humble brag.
Humble brag.
Humble brag. But yes, I think one of the more amazing things about my career is that I have had acceptance in both the fine art world, meaning I have won and been on several very prestigious artist residencies.
That's right. You just got back from Ireland.
I was on a very prestigious residency in Ireland this past year. That's not necessarily going to mean something to everyone else, but that's serious chops. And I've hung work in museums, and I have work in public places.
And you've been commissioned?
And I've had commissions, and I have, work hanging in lobbies of large corporations and all of that. But also via the entrepreneurial spirit, I am the top licensed wall art artist in the home decor industry in America.
So when you look at all of your maverick moments and where you are today, prevailing through, you've only talked about one brain surgery. You've actually had others.
Yes.
You had a turn of fate about 5 or so years ago requiring another brain surgery. You've constantly come back and prevailed and continued to evolve. So tell our listening audience and those watching, and thank you if you're new, welcome. Obviously, you see we interview incredible guests, and if you're a regular, we appreciate you. But tell our friends, what does that take? Because there's so many people out there that have the imposter syndrome, that don't know their next path. They don't know how to forge their path. They feel left out. They feel maybe bamboozled by the news or just whatever's going on in their life. What is that within you? And I don't want this stage word grit. What is that within you that makes you wake back up from a surgery and say, yeah, I'm on it?
Well, I think, one of the greatest tools that I've had the privilege of gaining was 3 brushes with death. And I really can't think of a single other experience that I've had that has clarified so much. And, that I told you about signing the paperwork. And, when you're presented with a life or death situation like that, it really clears up your priorities immediately. You have to realize.
That's really fascinating, right? Like it's a chance in a moment in time, and it just pivots everything.
It turns your whole world upside down, and most people would anticipate that it would turn your world upside down in a tragic, panicking, I'm going to cry for 7 days kind of way. And it does do that. But it also gives you so much clarity around who you are,
clarity,
and what your path is. And another this is a little bit of an aside, but once you know who you are and what it is that lights you up, and let me tell you, I love to paint. I mean, that lights me up like nothing else. I mean, that's the single greatest love of my life. Love my kids, love my family, but I really love to paint. I get so much joy from it.
So let me just, we're sitting in this incredible art studio, and I'm looking at one of your newest works of art that is, in my opinion, absolutely gorgeous. And I've seen you come up from very early on commission work where the price was very different than it is now.
Yes.
And this isn't about price. It's about emotion. It's about how this moves you or anyone else that wants it in their house. So for me, I look at this and this feels to me like I'm outside and I'm looking through a beautiful garden on a sunny day and I'm feeling the warmth of nature. And when I see it, I feel happy. Now, everybody interprets art differently. That's why I used to say when we would help our artists market their work, be careful how you name a piece, because it'll steer the audience. I don't know the name of the piece, but I know how I feel when I see that. And having sold many artists over the years, I look at that and I say, of course it's abstract art. And I have no idea what your intention is. I want to hear it. But when I see it, that's how I feel. So when you're painting it, take me through this process on this particular piece.
So really, I have been painting for so long and I have a deep toolbox of traditional skills, but I've deliberately chosen to be an abstract painter because I'm looking for my own vocabulary of symbols, and I'm also looking to try to capture a feeling. And your response to this piece is spot on.
Like my office wall isn't big enough for it, but I'm like, I really love it.
I am after creating an experience. Many of my collectors, their words, not mine, consider my work a reset. It's like a reset button for them.
And I'm going to tell you honestly, and I'm not just doing this for the podcast. This is not a paid podcast at all. What I love about your work is that, and it is abstract, and I know you have traditional skills, all of your pieces have some sort of bold color in them and some sort of energetic movement. And I could look at this piece tomorrow and feel the same reset, or I could be somewhere else in it. And that's what I love about abstract art in general. It allows you to be flexible. It allows you to move with the piece. And when we had art galleries, I would always say, start with art. That creates the emotion. And we would have a little joke. Don't buy an orange piece of art to match your orange couch. Then we're going to call you a decor rat. Right? But buy a piece that resonates with you. And oftentimes we'd see spouses come in or family members come in, and you'd have consensus amongst all of them. And one would be like, no, I don't like it. We'd say, not for you. Because every day what you see in your environment is so very important. And so I'm loving this piece. Now I'm going to ask you, have you named it yet?
This piece does not have a name. It's not quite complete. It's there right now because I'm in the thinking about it stage.
I see. Okay.
But, I might email you and you may be helping to name it. Who knows?
Okay.
I just want to throw in there that another thing that's sort of boiled into my work is an outlook that I have. And my outlook, my outlook is one that I think we all can really relate to. We're living in a time, in a world where we are bombarded by stimuli, sights, sounds, data, smells, the scroll, the news feed, the radio. We are constantly bombarded by information, and I don't think the human race is necessarily fully adapted to that yet. We have a lot of people struggling with attention deficit, having difficulty focusing. and we're living in really stressful times.
Really
you know?
stressful times.
But they're stressful times in a different way than they were for our ancestors. I mean, our ancestors had stressful times.
Like the
also.
fight or flight,
Yeah.
a water buffalo is coming to eat me. Let me run.
Yeah. But I mean, I would say that my work is most definitely about getting back to nature. It's about daydreaming. It's about reconnecting with yourself and your authenticity. And it is intended not just to be like decorative and to look great over the sofa, although it does.
Yeah, well, of course, we want these pieces to hang in your house or wherever you spend your time.
Well, listen, I like to make beautiful things.
You
and
do
they
make
are
beautiful
things. But more importantly and more significant and more satisfying for me is that people who live with my art tell me that their art forms a basis of a sense of sanctuary for them.
Pause right there. This is so important. You just said, when people live with my art. I always tell people in my family, we're the sum of our 5 best friends. We are the sum of the 80% of what we eat, consume, and so on. Live with your art. That's why I say start with art, right? You create an environment around what you see, what you feel, and it informs how you feel. So I feel so at home in your studio. Not only is it light and bright and every piece is different, and we are going to pan for those of you that are on strictly audio. You can find us on YouTube and see the insides of this fascinating studio, and on my Instagram, Mavs Coffee Clarity with Denise. And of course, let's just give it a pitch to you, Mary Elizabeth.
So maryelizabethart.com is the website. And on
Insta
and Facebook, I'm Mary Elizabeth Art.
Okay, my friends, so you can connect with the color. Also, we know I went to fashion school, right? And we also just take it back to the pizza shops. Red makes you feel hungry. Certain colors elicit certain feelings depending on what your personal color palette is.
Right.
And you see all of that here today. It's motivating, it's inspiring. So how has this changed from the first painter you were from 9 when you started painting to 28 when you had your first issue to now as a mature woman in the age of wisdom?
Yes, in the age of wisdom, I would say that I am a maximalist when it comes to color. I love color, but
as she sits in her beautiful white outfit with a spot of color.
Splash of color. It's obvious. I'm a committed colorist. I love color. How my color has evolved is in the years that I was working, I switched to watercolor. So watercolor, if you don't know, technically you're not doing a lot of mixing. You're doing a lot of layering, and that's how you achieve different color results. But I found that I really loved the cleanness of that. And so that's become a big influence on my color palette. It's clean color. It's not a lot. I don't do a lot of mixing. It's not all that muddy
But this isn't watercolor.
This is not watercolor. This is acrylic. I'm trained as an oil painter, but made the transition to acrylic while in art school. But what this is clean color. And it's color at its purest level.
So you're not mixing.
I am mixing more these days, and I'm glazing more, and there are passages in the work where it's a little bit more nuanced and complicated. But I like color that's lit with some white underneath it.
Me too.
Where you're seeing like the gem qualities of that. And, yes, color is very psychologically influencing. And it also has a lot to do with what culture you live in, different associations that people have with
Good
color,
point.
with color. I absolutely love color. I love putting color together, seeing how colors behave in association with each other, how they play off of each other, etc.
So do you need to have a fine, refined eye to buy your art?
I don't think so at all, because I think that my art is coming, first of all, I'm very physical in the way that I paint. There's a lot of body.
You're like a whirling dervish?
Yeah, I'm like, there's a lot of body energy involved in these pieces. There's a lot of mark making. There's a lot of really mixing it up and getting in there. And I'm trying to capture the energy of that moment, of that walk in the forest, that walk on the beach. That's all, implied in there. No, I don't think you need to have, 17 degrees and a whole lot of sophistication. You just have to be a living, breathing, feeling human being. And I think that this work will reach a part of you. And the other bit of feedback that I get from people all the time is, I'm thrilled that I bought this. Every day I walk in the room and I see something different in this piece. And that excites people.
So when you come into this gorgeous studio, and over on this side, she calls it the wet side. That's where all the paint and the sloppy floor is. What do you need to be inspired? Do you just walk in and start painting? Do you have references?
Oh, I have tons of references. When I was interviewed on this last residency I was at, and people laughed, and I didn't mean for them to laugh, but I'm obsessed. I am utterly obsessed with plants and plant life, but specifically, I am obsessed with seed pods and seeds, and I love looking at images.
I know you're an avid gardener. I didn't even think this about you, so you're bringing that into your work.
Oh, that's a big part of my work. I love looking at seeds on a microscopic level and thinking about, seeds as a repository for DNA. I mean, a tree can only be that kind of tree that it is. It can only express that. And all of the right conditions have to line up for that tree to become what it is, what it's meant to be. So nature is definitely the underpinning of most of what I do. When I was in Ireland, interestingly enough, I dipped my toe in landscape again, which was shocking for me. I mean, I didn't see that coming.
So I think that the expression of color and who you are post these traumatic experiences really speaks to the vivacious energy you bring to the table. What's happening down the line? What's next on the bucket list, my friend?
So right now I am in the midst of launching another major art collection with my manufacturer. And I'm really looking forward to that. That it's going to take about a year to build. And
so do they assume the commissions are fine arts, or do they just take a repro of it?
They manufacture high quality reproductions, and those are framed and sold. And outfits like Neiman Marcus, Williams Sonoma Home, Anthropology, Crate and Barrel sell my work. And my work is also available from resellers, designers.
Have you ever thought about teaching a class?
It's so funny. I come from a family of nurses and teachers.
Because I think I'm going to come and take the class. I'm not just a little self-serving plug. Because I see this big, beautiful space, and I'm like, you could probably teach me a few things.
I probably could. But here's the thing. I have been painting since I was 9. I'm classically trained. I never got my teacher education certification, right? Because it was
you can teach it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think if you want to paint like me, you'd have to be me. And
facts.
And
I don't want to paint like you. I just want to hang out in your color theory.
Oh yeah, we could definitely hang in that way. I get asked this all the time. Like, do I teach workshops? Do I advise people on their art careers or whatever? I would say I'm very generous with advice to other artists. I'm very supportive of other artists. I don't teach. I've never taught. I do things for reasons I don't even know what they are anymore. I mean, I was taught to paint like Leonardo or Michelangelo. So now it's so internalized. It's like a mental checklist that I go through. If I had to verbalize it for somebody else, I I don't know what I would say.
It sounds to me, my friends, like her creative process is private, and we're going to leave it there. Okay, so wrapping up today's segment, which has been so fascinating, I want to ask you one Maverick question.
Go.
What's the best piece of advice you were ever given that you wish you said, yeah, no thanks to?
Ooh, best piece of advice I said no thanks to? Well, that's tough because I am like...
I don't come here like a pansy.
I know, but...
I come here like a maverick.
I'm kind of a contrarian. I mean...
Okay.
I am truly an independent mind, and I don't tend to take advice. I don't know what that says about me, but if you tell me to do something, I mean, I'll take it under advisement. But
what's your biggest Maverick moment as we shift our attention out of Erector Square? Used to be the factory here in New Haven where they made parachutes for wartime.
Yeah, they made parachutes for wartime here. They made the American Flyer trains, and they made the building toy, the world famous Erector set here.
Said no one ever again.
Said no one ever again.
What's your greatest Maverick moment? Let's leave our friends with a piece of advice.
Greatest Maverick moment really has to be never, ever, ever align yourself with anything other than your one true passion.
Wow, that was powerful. And I needed to hear that today myself. Mary Elizabeth Marvin, fine art, the fabulous. So thankful you're in my life, my friend. Peace out, my friends. Mav has got to get back to work. Hey, that's a wrap for today, my friends. Thanks for listening, subscribing, and staying connected with me. Head on over to DeniseDiGrigoli.com and learn a little bit more about my creative and strategic consulting services. While you're there, drop your name on the contact page. Sign up for my bi-weekly brew. It's fresh ideas delivered to your inbox a couple times a month for clarity, creativity, and better communication. It's based on my 3 decades as an entrepreneur, helping other people and businesses move forward. It's great business intel and life hacks that you can use for work, life, and self-care. And come on, who doesn't need that nowadays? Have a great rest of your day. Peace out, my friends. Mav has got to get back to work.